So it's all well and good thinking, yeah, I'm gonna be that guy who's jacked, shredded, in insane cardiovascular shape, I can fight, I'm a bank robber / arson specialist. But how do I actually go about hybridizing from a muscular but, you know, a bit stiff, boring, socially inept, poorly dressed, depressed, impotent gym bro? Well, I can't really help you with the last one there, champ, or really half of those. You might need professional help, but let's get into how you can actually branch out your skill tree. What's the best way to do it? What are the pitfalls people fall into? If there's only one thing you take out of this video, I just want you to understand that adaptation takes time, right? Your muscles are gonna react and grow and adapt faster than everything else, which is like, oh, it's a good thing, right? Well, it's kind of double-edged, because when they get far ahead, things like connective tissues, you know, your tendons and your fascia, they take a while to adapt to the actual training because there's less blood supply, so the growth is just slower. You see this a lot with runners. They're getting into it, it's fun, they're getting carried away, they're making so much progress, and then bang, plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendonitis, HIV. It's like, oh, just grip my teeth and push through it. Yeah, well, now you're gonna need 3 months for that to come right, and also you'll need antiretrovirals. Something like climbing is actually a really good example too. A lot of people getting into like bouldering, some people like coming from the gym. You know, if you have really strong back muscles, but everything else is not really that developed, like I blew a rotator cuff doing bouldering, it was not fun. And then I hurt one of my fingers as well, just because these specialist things are not developed through like regular gym training, like do some like base upper body strength for my running, but it's not that intensive. And then it's just like, oh, what are we doing here? Why are we holding on to this rock? And everything just falls apart. So my message here is just progress slowly. It's not a race, okay? And especially when you get injured, just take the time to back off and do something else. I'm sure there's something else you can do. And the worst thing you can do when you're starting to feel a bit better is try and make up for lost time and like really push it. It's like, I gotta get back, I gotta get back, gotta get back to where I was. And then you just ruin it and you're back to square one. So progress slowly. Now, a few quick notes about running, because a lot of people going into running now, which is great, but compared to other sports, it's a little bit different, because most sports are like, you know, mostly your practice is going to be high quality practice plus just applicable strength that applies to most sports, but running's a little bit different. And I think the main thing people get wrong is like easy miles, easy kilometers is king, right? You don't have to be pushing it every day, literally just a conversational pace. And if you can have like a mileage target every week and just ramp that up a little bit each week, and again, not getting too carried away initially, allowing your body to adapt. But really, like even the professionals, you know, they might do some advanced stuff like threshold work and interval training, but the core part is just easy kilometers. Okay, you don't have to be chasing a PB every time you run out there, because actually you're not going to be making the right adaptation, surprisingly, and as well it's going to be hard to really push the volume if you're trying to do it at high intensity all the time. And just a couple notes on building speed. Yes, you can do like shorter reps, like 30 meters as fast as you can if you're trying to get like a bit more of a sprinter going, but I'd recommend just getting started with some longer, more relaxed stuff, maybe like 150 to 200 meters. If you are trying to get a little bit quicker, that's like a nice foundation for you before you get into the really nitty gritty of the like sharp 30 meter splits, dude. And the other thing is like never sprint on tight hamstrings, like you're swallowing stun grenades there, dude. It's not gonna work out. Because they're so long, and one of the biggest movers for actually sprinting, there's a lot of torque going on, and they just, if they're tight, dude, ding, you're done. Now onto some of the notes for gym. Because a lot of people coming from the gym, they're probably already in decent shape and have decent strength levels, and I really believe that trying to still do gym like 5 days a week probably isn't really that beneficial. It's really easy to maintain on less volume. And because you're doing less volume, it makes sense that you do more compound movements, right? If you're only allocating like a certain amount of work in the gym each week, why are you spending half of it doing bicep curls? It just doesn't check out, right? And of those compound movements, you know, the basic ones are fine, you know, the pull-ups, the squats, the deadlifts, but I'd really recommend doing some big dynamic stuff as well, maybe like some kettlebell swings, some big like barbell rotations. That stuff is really applicable to actually being a bit more athletic as well, doing some good heavy single leg stuff. You know, I love the heavy single leg stuff. So applicable to most sports, because, you know, how many sports are you putting like force down linearly with both legs at the same time? It just doesn't happen. Plus you're training a lot of balance as well and just stability. So get into those heavy single leg stuff. I did a video on glutes, how to get super thick, so check that one out. Yeah, lower back, glutes, and core. These things are really going to help you excel in pretty much anything, and I think a lot of people just doing regular gym training probably have these muscles a little bit weaker comparably to like some of the other muscles, and this is going to cause injury because this imbalance, you know, especially these muscles in the core of your body, these are used for everything, dude, so do not slack on these. If anything, just prioritize these, forget everything else, dude. As well as a few other like minor muscles, like some of your spine movers like obliques, and as well like hip flexors. These things don't really get trained through like a regular, say, push-pull leg split or some other bro split. They're really not in there, so especially for someone like running, dude, you need these. Okay. Like, do we do that? I'll just, nah, dude, as long as my abs are there, I don't need to train them. Nah. Now, on to diet. I think the number one thing is adjust for like the extra expenditure, because, well, like, let's compare, say, running or sprinting. These are the muscles used in sprinting, okay, and compare that to bicep curls. What do you think burns more energy? Yeah, so basically doing anything on your legs, because your legs are like, there's so much more muscle there comparatively, unless you're doing something outrageously wrong and you look like this guy. But your energy expenditure is going to be so much higher, dude. Like, when I'm doing like just gym stuff compared to when I'm really pushing the track stuff, you know, things vary throughout the year for me with my training. The energy expenditure is just so different, dude. I'm hungry so much when the track work is like a lot of volume, just because you're burning so much. As well, consider muscle fibers, right? Your type 1s that are pretty efficient and we use for running, you know, your slow twitch stuff. They're not using as much energy, but, you know, take running compared to like a gym workout, you're going the whole time. There's no like 3-minute rest periods, right? And then you got your type 2As, which is kind of your medium twitch stuff that you might use for weights, which are like kind of in between. And then you got your type 2B, which is your really, really fast twitch stuff that you use for sprinting. And these are so inefficient, it's kind of outrageous. So that when you're doing this kind of stuff, especially when you're considering that you're using all these big muscles, right? And all the type 2B fibers, you're going to burn so much energy. So just keep that in mind, like compared to something like a gym workout where it's mostly type 2A, and there's big rest times and you're using smaller muscles, usually in isolation, dude, the energy output is just ridiculous. Like, I see some of these guys who are like way bigger than me and they're like, oh, I eat like 2,800 calories a day for maintenance. It's like, dude, in winter my maintenance is like 4,000 and I only weigh like 75 kilos. It's just because of all this stuff. So now sorting out a training split, right? I think this depends entirely on, you know, specifically what you want to do. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that up to you a little bit, but there's a few things to consider. Again, like 2 days a week in the gym is absolutely fine to maintain, especially when you consider that if you're doing all these other activities, like maybe you're doing a bit of, I don't know, boxing, a bit of rock climbing, a bit of, I don't know, rowing, your muscles are getting all sorts of stimulation, so don't worry about losing strength and size. You're probably not going to, especially if you are still going to the gym a couple days a week. You don't need to be in there 5 days a week, dude. It's just not really necessary, in my opinion. As well with the running, because you're targeting easy miles, right? This can be really easy just to throw on top of another session because you're not really pushing it with these runs. It's just like a little bit of training that doesn't really add that much intensity or volume to your total training, or maybe volume but low intensity. So it's really not taxing you that much. So there's kind of like a little bit of dessert if you want at the end of the day. You don't have to designate a whole day to like, you know, a 5K easy run. You can probably handle that pretty easily, especially when you're starting to get a bit more adapted to it. And a key point here, if you're doing like a skill-based thing like martial arts or climbing, it's really important that you prioritize high quality practice. This is the biggest mover in these things because that's actually going to train you to do the movements properly. And if you're just showing up fatigued and going through the motions, right, you're not going to make as much progress. So really prioritize that. If that means to have like a decent rest day before your main session of that kind, so be it. That's really going to help you not only, you know, stay injury free, but just make progress a little bit quicker. But yeah, that's been the video. Those are some points I think you're going to need to branch out, max out your skill tree, get some new skills going. But if you did enjoy, please be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing. There's some more videos there. I'll see you next time.